But I want to talk a little UFC real quick.
Yes. Let's do it. Yes.
So, I mean, this is going to come out after the fight, but
It's
we
like
need
my
to just
favorite
get
part
your
of the
thoughts on
podcast.
everything. And right, like
With
music
this
is the
fight
number one
coming up
interest, but like
Saturday?
the
dude,
hype and
I am
everything that's
excited,
going on
yeah.
right now. This is going to come out after the fight. Maybe we could talk. Maybe I could clip this out and we'll put it out before the fight, just to get our thoughts out there.
Sweet.
But UFC 232 is taking place this Saturday.
Let's
Was
go,
going
baby.
to be taking place in Las Vegas, Nevada, but due to good old Johnny Bones Jones,
Problematic UFC fighter I've ever seen in my life.
somehow popped for some minuscule amount of prohibited substance again in a system, and the fight has been moved to California,
Yes.
a whole new state, to Los Angeles.
A
So
week before. Yeah.
what are your, Dan, you being a pretty would you call, what kind of fan would say, like
I
a
would
casual
say-
fan or hardcore fan? I feel like you're somewhere in between. Like,
I'm like that. Like, I'm not gonna be the person to like, because I'll always downplay what I know before I'm like, dude, I know everything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, because I
Yeah.
think that just makes you look dumb. But the people that I do like in UFC, I will
stay up to
follow.
date.
I will follow them on
Okay.
Twitter,
Yeah.
Instagram. Like, literally follow everything they do, the interviews, the press conferences, whatever it is. But I can't
You're
say
deep
that
for the people
I
you
know
like.
every single person
There's
that
way
is
too many.
fighting.
No,
I
don't even
can't.
know that.
Yeah, exactly. But what I can say is MMA is the sport that I watch like people watch football or like people watch. I don't get that amped up for
Yeah.
anything else.
Dude,
and I think it's
a
because
big
my
main event, like
and even just a fighter, it could be someone so small. Like Israel Adesanya is rising,
Yeah.
but I was so hyped for his last fight, and it wasn't the biggest thing in the world. He's fighting Derek Brunson. And
Yeah.
Derek Brunson's not,
But it's just
no,
like
shout out Derek
the
Brunson. but,
step up into
yeah.
competition and the more like notoriety about it.
Yeah,
But yes.
I love that. Like,
Yep.
and so the people that I do, yeah. But when it comes to like the people on this card, obviously I know who Cyborg is. I know who Nunez is. I know obviously who Jones and Gustafsson are. There's other people fighting that I know of, and I just don't
Yo,
know.
BJ Penn is actually fighting on this
Penn's
card.
fight. Oh, sweet, dude, that's awesome.
He's fighting on the prelims, like the first prelims.
Yeah,
so,
you know
like,
what? I'm gonna pull it up.
Yeah, pull
on
up
my
the
computer.
card.
I
Actually, might have. I did all my picks before.
Yeah, but as a fan, I would say I'm a bigger fan of MMA than any other sport.
Yes. All right. So since you're the most MMA knowledgeable person I've had on the podcast so far, since we've only had 5 or freaking whatever. of them,
whatever. Yeah.
And there's a big UFC thing coming up right now. So what are your whole thoughts on this Jon Jones situation popping and them moving the whole event because of him?
Well, as I had it understood, with Condit and Chiesa, I'm excited
Condit,
for that. Condit is one of my favorite
Chiesa.
fighters of all time. And Chad Mendes, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so with the whole Jones thing, as I had it understood, it was leftover amounts.
They
I don't
say
know how
it's
true
like
that
a
is.
leftover thing.
Yeah.
This is what if we're going by what the experts said, this is just what they said. Like,
Oh, so the expert said it's
this is
leftover
where
amounts.
like everybody,
Okay,
like
like the
people are gonna
doctors.
think.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want people to think that like Dana White is like making this decision. Like, this is like a thing that's been researched by USADA and like
Okay.
other sports leagues. Like,
Yeah.
they've like consulted with other people and other organizations. So they say that this is like a residual effect from something,
Okay.
and it's not. They could tell that it hasn't been a
Been
new
used.
ingestion of
Yeah.
something, and it's such a minuscule amount that it wouldn't have performance-enhancing benefits, and he was already suspended for this.
Okay.
So that's like what
It's
they're
no
saying.
need to. And if that is if that's the genuine case, then I have nothing against Bones with how that's being
Right.
done. You know what I mean?
It's-
I have nothing. Because my thing is that I want to see Jon Jones succeed. You know,
just want to see him fight, like,
and
this is what
I
he's
just
here
because
to do.
it's
Like, he's so
I'm
amazing at it.
conflicted because as a person, like I was talking about this with your dad before. As a person, I don't know how I really feel about him. You know what I mean? Because he's not like the biggest shit talker in the world or somebody that I really just don't like their personality. But the things that he's done
He's sort of
and the
fake.
chances
He
that
kind
he's
of
had,
skates through situations when you
Yeah.
feel like he should be punished. Like,
exactly. And they definitely give him leeway because he has such potential and because he is
he
such a
brings
great
in
fighter.
money. He's one of the
Exactly.
few that do.
Yeah, without having to like, he doesn't have to be like Conor talking mad shit to bring mad attention to a lot of attention to his name.
Yeah.
But two, it's not just because of the controversy he's been in. It's more so how good he is. Like just
people
strictly
just know Jon
off of
Jones is
skill,
fighting. People
know of
want
him.
to see him fight.
And what was he fighting for? Like it was like 5, 6 years before he started getting.
Yeah,
like
he was just a college wrestler, and like then after that he needed money to like support his family, like, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
and like he was just so talented and gifted, like he was able to just rise the ranks and take all these people out.
Legends, literal legends. I was watching a compilation of all of his fights and all of his wins, and the amount. Vitor Belfort.
They call it Murderer's
Lyoto
Row.
Machida.
What he went through, Murderer's Row.
Yeah,
like,
he did like
Shogun.
Yeah, Shogun, Lyoto Machida. Rashad, dude. And dude, I gotta say my saddest moment. Yeah, I gotta say my saddest moment was when he choked out Lyoto Machida and he
dropped him,
dude. Because I was like, yo, Lyoto Machida is one of my favorite,
like a sensei, like all that you respect, and
yeah, exactly, like, and so I was just
bow
like,
to Lyoto when you see him.
He was giving him his best fight. He was giving Jon Jones the run of his
putting some pressure
career.
on him,
yeah, because his striking is so unorthodox, and he comes from all these angles, and Jon Jones didn't know how to deal with that. Obviously he did at the end, but so yeah, I want him because I want him to do good, and I want him to get it right because he is still, like, thankfully he was so young when he started doing it that he could afford to have spent the time he did not fighting.
Yeah.
And that's why now I'm hoping, that's what I wanted last time and the time before that.
We say this every 6 months,
exactly.
Right? Like
for him
year.
to just
it's crazy.
Get it right, dude.
How does it happen?
It'd be such a waste. It's So I want him to win. I want him to beat Gustafsson. I thought that fight with Gustafsson the last time, I was just rewatching it the other day just to get ready for that. That was the closest fight of Jon Jones' career.
Yeah. And then they said this was when he wasn't training a lot, and he was partying still, and
exactly. Yeah.
So we'll see.
So I hope he's been training nonstop.
Like,
cage rust is a real thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what's going to happen with him if not fought. I mean, he went and fought one of the greatest fighters of all time, Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, he came back and
no matter how I feel about him,
took out DC,
and he took him out. No, and DC has not been stopped before or after that fight.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He beat up Gustafsson. He's literally beat up pretty much everybody.
He hasn't lost at all.
Jon Jones. He made Rumble, who I thought was going to be one of the next big things, straight up quit. You know what I mean?
And Rumble had him rocked. Right? We're talking about
really
DC now, right?
Yeah, DC. Yeah.
Rumble had him rocked like in 5 seconds.
Exactly. Like. So I really see the potential in him, and I really want him to win. I just hope he starts being a good person. Just do the right thing.
It's just so and a big issue is like other UFC fighters have been suspended for the same thing.
Yeah.
And like they try to go back and like get supplements tested and this and that, but like USADA is like, no, like you took it and like it can only be in this window, like that you've taken it, like we know that for a fact. And now with Jon, they're kind of changing their story, saying this whole residual thing, and like they're kind of switching their stance on it. So guys that have already been suspended for 2 years that then the UFC just releases right after, like talk about losing time. And like that's for even older fighters like Josh Barnett and this guy Tom Lawler. Like they got suspended for pretty much the same exact thing that Jon is going through right now, and now they're like flip-flopping their story a little bit. So that's what's kind of really annoying about it, and it's
not fair,
crazy.
But it's kind of money will always kind of run, and they know that they're gonna make money from letting Jon Jones back into the UFC, and so it's not right, but it's definitely not right. But it's. With that being said, with that being the situation, I just want him to realize the kind of blessing that he's been given.
Be the cleanest athlete you could be.
And dude, because you know what? It's not hard.
Especially with he has the money to do everything.
Everything he wants.
Get a driver, chef.
Dude, like
nanny, like whatever it is.
Whatever you got to do, and why waste that opportunity, and why waste that's
what it feels like. It just
possible money
like wasted. Like
exactly.
He's already missed out from suspensions on at least 4 or 5 fights that are like multi-million-dollar
that
things.
he could have taken out.
Sponsors. The guy was sponsored by Nike and Gatorade. Like what?
Exactly. He was ready to be on his way to the heights that McGregor, is at. Because McGregor's at a point where. Because that's what I noticed after his fight with Nurmagomedov, is that he can get his ass beat and nobody will care.
I know, like
Nobody cares.
my boy, shout out DV. After every single fight, he's like, if he loses this fight, bro, he's falling off. Like nobody's gonna. I'm like, bro, it's McGregor. Like he's already at this level where like nothing's gonna happen. Yes, like some people might not want to pay attention to it, this and that. But
it's gonna lose him.
He's still
some.
so intriguing to just the casual people that don't care about fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, every time he fights, they're gonna want to see it. If he fights Floyd again, people are gonna be clamoring for it.
People love
people
it.
that don't like fighting. Maybe some people that do, but like I just don't get the appeal.
Yeah, and that's why I have respect for him to be so humble in defeat. Be as humble in defeat as he is.
He's good about it.
Because he knows people don't care if he loses or not.
He'll fall off that way more he's after the fight. He's being an
like,
asshole.
There's like he was straight up honest. Like Khabib got the better of me.
Yeah.
Is it Habib or Khabib?
Khabib.
It is Habib, right? Okay. Because I hear everybody say
Khabib.
Yeah. So like it's I'm hyped for that. The Cyborg and Nunez fight is also something I'm equally interested in.
Who you got in that one? I did a little analysis on that. I think it's very interesting that Amanda's coming up 10 pounds. It's going to be her first fight up there.
And it might affect her.
It might affect her.
I want Nunez to win, but I think Cyborg might pull that one out of the bag.
I picked Cyborg just because she's been so dominant and like
she's so
Amanda's
nasty.
first time up there, adjusting to the weight a little bit. It's just different.
And especially because they're both strikers, and
they're both BJJ black belts too. I'm pretty sure. So like, it's really crazy.
Yeah, and so
the whole Pride of Brazil thing too. I know like we're UFC talk. I'm cutting you off, but
stop.
The Brazil thing, like that's like a whole nother factor and layer. Like a lot of Brazilians don't like to fight each other. No, they're both from Brazil.
Both from Brazil.
So a lot of times they don't really like to fight with each other, and like especially this being such a high stakes thing. But like Amanda called her out, so then Cyborg was like pissed about it. So, this is like another layer of like nationalism and like wanting to represent like for their
Brazil.
people part of Brazil.
Exactly.
Like,
and I think that will just be because I love when people just stand and duke it out. And I'm not taking anything away from the art of grappling and how much talent and practice needs to go into that. But just from having a boxing background, I love
That's what you prefer.
I love it. Like if people would just literally stand and swing and kick each other the whole time, I would
watch Chris Lieben fights.
Yeah, and because there are people who are so good at what they do, like Khabib. And
such a specialist.
DC, that just make me really appreciate Tony Ferguson, appreciate ground game.
Yeah,
because they do things like specifically Ferguson. He's put people in submissions that I didn't even know were like existed. You know what I mean?
Positions and different grabs.
It's just so. He is nasty, dude. Like that is the division he's in with. I think Dillashaw. Or is he up one?
He's in 55, so that's McGregor, Khabib.
Oh,
Poirier,
it is. That's what it is.
Nate.
Yeah, Diamond. That is an insane division. I forget what is.
That's probably the most stacked.
Dillashaw is down one, right?
No, Dillashaw is at 135. He's
he's down a couple. Yeah.
And he was gonna fight at 125.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're
all
135.
Right. So that division. That's with McGregor, and Habib and Poirier. That is just. There's so many fights that could be set up.
So many.
Yeah. And it's just they're so because when I hear Tony Ferguson calling them all out, he's calling out Khabib and McGregor and who's the other one? Is Holloway in that division too?
Holloway's a weight below, but
he could possibly be
about fighting
exactly. Like it's possible. That's just
Quinta's in there. He just won. Beat
and
Kevin
Quinta's
Lee.
an up and comer dude. He gave Khabib the biggest run for his money
on a day's
and
notice.
I understand it was because Khabib was training for a completely different fighter, but
so was Al.
Yeah, exactly.
In a 3-round fight.
Yeah,
so
dude.
that's amazing that he was able to do that.
Yeah,
shout out
he's
Al.
from Brooklyn.
Shout out Long Island.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out Long Island. Shout out Ally Quinta. And so it's gonna be like that Nunez fight and Cyborg fight. That'll be super interesting. I always love seeing Condit fight because my favorite fighters are the unorthodox strikers.
Yeah,
come from a weird angle, throw a weird ass kick, do something different, and because then when they land it, like when Demetrius Johnson did
the The armbar? Is that what you're about to
Oh
bring up?
my God, dude. That
Whoa.
blew my mind. That was like me seeing the 900 for the first time.
Dude,
like
that blew
when I like
the
skating.
whole MMA martial arts community's
Yep,
mind.
yeah,
that was like
exactly.
a step in evolution that
Of a
nobody's
move. Yeah,
ever seen or thought.
Yep.
People might have thought about it. Maybe it's being practiced somewhere, but like
Yeah.
for him to pull it off on the highest stage of
Yeah,
competition
exactly.
at the
So
time that he did
seamlessly.
later in the round,
Dude, he
like in
threw
the
that
fight.
dude in the air and just like crazy. It was
There's
insane.
been more evolution. I just got to talk about this. There's been more evolution in the last 25 years with the UFC being around in martial arts than there has been throughout all of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everybody had their
people
own
just now-
individual thing.
Yeah.
But now with it coming together and like meshing, like kids just start training in MMA. Like there's no specific thing. Like
Yeah.
people are just so well versed everywhere. It's like it's been the quickest evolution of martial arts ever. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
really wild.
and it's so crazy. And like that elbow from
Yair Rodriguez
dude, what like
in the last second.
I still don't know if he meant to do that or not.
Oh,
you know
he
what I
did.
mean? Right? You think he like
Because
that is crazy, dude.
he didn't do that exact one earlier in the fight, but he did a very similar one where he stops, and I think it was a spinning one.
Okay.
But he tried to set it
He
up a couple
threw that,
times
like
because he gets the guy's momentum coming in, and then he just stops on a dime and cuts an angle or drops down as the guy's still coming
when
forward.
he had dropped down and he
Dude,
threw
yeah,
that
if you
up.
look, he's looking where he's throwing the elbow, and it's kind of funny because when I did Krav Maga and did that shit for a little bit, like that was an elbow that we practiced, like
really,
and
that's
to
crazy.
just see it in motion, that was like just one of the wildest
things.
ever.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like when I saw that, I didn't even watch that specific fight. I didn't because I just saw it on Twitter. That move was so crazy that he was literally trending for it. You know what I mean? Because
Dude,
Yair Rodriguez is not like the most well-known fighter.
He's very he's
and so it was insane to see that. Another thing, this was not on the upcoming card, but that I gotta shout out that Max Holloway fight. That is one of the greatest UFC fights I've seen in a very long time.
Talk about stand-up guys that bang.
And Brian Ortega is a straight-up warrior. And that is not. I was rooting for Holloway because I have been rooting for Holloway. I love how he fights.
Yeah.
He's probably my favorite fighter in his division. But Ortega is just, he's a monster, dude.
His mentality and
the
mindset.
The way he put out
to be
Frankie
able to come
Edgar.
Out. Ooh.
I was in
That
awe.
had me nervous for the Max fight a little bit. How he took out
I
Edgar
thought
like
he
that.
was gonna give him like the biggest shot, if not beat him. You know what I mean? I was a little worried, like because he was just running through the division without breaking a sweat. And then Max just did what Max does, you know, and the way he was just chasing him down, it was not a Brian Ortega I had seen before.
Yeah.
He was hesitant. He was kind of like overwhelmed, you know what I mean? Because Max has that body shape that allows his cardio to go on, like a Nick Diaz or a Nate Diaz, that just allows him to hit you with not the heaviest.
They're very efficient with their movement, too.
Yeah,
and they don't throw power shots all the time.
No.
Like Brian, like he knows he has power now that he did that to Frankie and shit.
Yeah.
Like so he's throwing with power all the time. Like Max and the Diaz guys, like you said, are very efficient with their movement.
Yeah, they'll just keep
and the
hitting
shots
you.
that they throw, they're popping you. And then at the right time, when they know they set you up perfectly, they're gonna throw the power shot and hit you with it, and not miss you with it, and be less efficient and waste more energy. You know what I mean?
100%.
So
and
his movement is top notch.
Really, yeah. And you can watch like as they're fighting, like Max landed, like, you know, he broke the record for most landed punches. And he was just literally just 1-2ing him for most of the fight, just throwing that jab, hitting him with the right, kept hitting that eye with that right hand, and then when he knew he had him like softened up, that's when he would start unloading on him.
And
you know
really
what I mean?
pushing forward.
I like that discipline that comes with, you know what? I know I have the advantage right now, or that I'm the one who's got the upper hand. But I'm still going to wait, and I'm still going to take my time, and I'm still going to hunt him down. Took the whole fight for that. What was the fourth round that it got stopped?
Between the fourth and fifth.
Fourth and fifth, right? And just the display. Because even though Brian Ortega, you know, obviously lost, he still threw that spinning. There was a spinning elbow that came in the third round
He looked good in the third round. That was his best round, actually.
You heard the spinning elbow. Like, it sounded like someone just hit a baseball, like, out of the park. Like, it made that, like, cracking sound. And I was amazed that Max Holloway didn't even stop.
He didn't flinch for anything.
And he landed that flush, and he was just whatever. He landed some flush hits, and Max Holloway was not fazed whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I was just in awe. That was one of my favorite because, like I said, I love unorthodox strikers, and that was two of the best, and they really put their skills on, like, full display.
Yeah.
So I was hyped about that.
Great to see.
But back to the card, and the Chad Mendes fight will be dope. I don't know who the other two were, but, I got to say my two biggest fights I'm looking forward to with that is Amanda Nunes, Cyborg, Jon Jones, Gustafsson.
Has to be.
So I'm hyped for that.
Where are you gonna watch it? Do you have any plans or like?
No.
Usually just get together at somebody's house.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna be here. I wish I was here to watch it, but one thing it sucks. It sucks about bouncing, and now that I plan on DJing and getting spots on Saturday nights.
Sweet.
I'm gonna be missing these fucking events live.
Dude.
So bouncing on a Saturday night is not the funnest thing, but I'll come home just.
Exactly.
Like, MMA Mania or like I don't know, just Google full
just
fight stream and catch it after.
I was gonna say, I watched that Max and Ortega fight on my phone. You know what I mean? Just there's always a link on Twitter, almost every single time.
Reddit, shout out.
Yeah, another fight, Adesanya and Silva.
Oh, Adesanya. Israel Adesanya.
Yeah. However you say it.
Yeah.
I feel like that is just a slap in the face to Anderson Silva. Because he's a legend, you know what I'm saying? But he's far past his prime, dude. He's older. If he's stuck in this contract with you guys, give him easy fights. You know that he is about to get utterly destroyed.
But do we?
I am like 90% sure he is about to get completely ruined by Adesanya. He is just some of the most overwhelming striking that I've ever seen. And so, like,
he's the next form, the next generation of Silva. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, that's why you see it as even worse because
because it's like this is somebody that you can tell so closely watches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm just like, dude, just give him these like fights that maybe he can somewhat win.
But what do you think about? I mean, like you said, you love Israel, right?
Yeah.
So them using Anderson, this is like, I don't want to say their formula, but they've done this before, where they put a legend up against an up and comer.
Yeah, exactly.
And then this is what they did with Yair Rodriguez. Actually, they put him up against Frankie Edgar.
Yeah.
So Frankie's not past his prime, and obviously Anderson is a very different situation than Frankie Edgar, but this is just a very close example of the same thing where they have the up-and-coming guy and they try to make a name off, or
because
that's one thing about the UFC.
Take out a legend. Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna get tested. Like, there's no easy fights really. Like, so I like the matchup.
Yeah,
I think it's good because it could get Israel. He's going to get more exposure.
Of course, yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember if it's on like a pay-per-view or an ESPN event, but if it's on ESPN, like, imagine just how much more exposure he'll be.
He'll get, especially if he pulls off some of the crazy moves.
Like you said, you're a fan. The way he talks and the way he does things, like he's I don't want to say the next McGregor, but he's a star. He's the next big star.
Yeah, exactly.
So for him to be able to come up on Anderson Silva, who's done his thing, he's not going to do anything crazy. And they said they'll give him a Anderson Silva championship fight after if he wins, so like that's some motivation. So like,
honestly,
you don't know Anderson, like, dude, he might come out completely different style. He might come out with his black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu thing on and like just take him down, and like, who knows?
That'd be so wild, dude.
That's one thing about UFC I talked about on my last podcast, is like, you just don't
never know
what will happen. There's so many ways and routes of winning and losing. Like, it's just insane.
Like that Derek Lewis fight against Alexander
Volkov, I think.
Dude, Volkov was beating him up that entire
4.5 rounds.
And he landed that one punch. You just saw it in Volkov. He was
out after that.
Out. He was out before he really knocked him out.
All he had to do was stay away. Didn't need to throw a punch the rest of the round. Just stay away.
And he floored that man. That was insane. But yeah, we never know with that Adesanya fight, and I think that it's a good stylistic matchup.
It's gonna be a great fight.
for Anderson Silva being one of my top 3 fighters of all time.
You just think it's disrespectful, right?
Yeah, dude. Like, just let him ride his contract out easy. You know what I'm saying? But like you said,
just release him.
yeah, I agree.
Bellator.
They never give it to you easy. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
the thing about him, yeah.
But I also don't like the politics that play into UFC
There's a
more
lot
and
that
more
goes into
nowadays.
it, yeah.
Because like we were talking about the Demetrius Johnson thing, he is probably the greatest fighter that the UFC has ever seen.
The greatest all-around mixed martial artist, for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. And you guys give him they give him no promotion. They give him no recognition. You know, his title fights are never promoted like that, and it's because he's not. The dude he plays video games. Yeah, he streams.
They haven't figured out how to market him. He could totally be marketed, but
he's just because that's not what UFC fans like. UFC fans like the shit talking. They like the competition in it. They like to see 2 guys who want to
and somebody that gets
beat
in
the
close fights too, like somebody that just dominates. Like people lose interest with like GSP. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, because he's so technical. And that's why I didn't understand the trade. Now I know Demetrius Johnson was not the most popular fighter amongst people, but is Ben Askren gonna really be that popular either? Like he's a straight up wrestler, you know what I mean?
I mean, you being active on Twitter and shit, like you probably seen he stirs
the pot.
So they're gonna get money back just from that, like him talking and
Habib
and promoting
he
and
just
being
wrestles,
able to do stuff.
and people love watching him. So.
And him and Khabib are very similar styles. I don't know if you really watched Ben Askren fight at all, but like
I haven't seen too many.
He's very similar
I think
to
I
Khabib.
watched like
just
a compilation.
American wrestling style will take you down, not get hit, and will just beat you up.
Yeah, and
like
will
that's
not
why
let you
Dana
up.
never wanted to sign him. I think he said, but he's got a big mouth too, so he said something about Dana, and Dana was like, "I'm not signing you." So that's why it never happened, and why he's fighting in Japan and Bellator and all these different things.
Yeah,
but I think I don't really care if the UFC, like people like that's how they talk about the UFC is like the business aspect of it, if they like the decision or don't like the decision. But like the Ben Askren thing, they're gonna be able to make more money off of it. Like
probably more money than DJ.
Than like with DJ. And like I think they kind of wanted to get rid of the 125 division.
They
like,
did. They want to get rid of that flyweight division.
There's just not
so bad.
There's not
a lot of fighters
in it, and
like even Senri Cejudo is not the most like. I'd rather just see him move up a weight.
He's the most promotable guy, like being an Olympic athlete
from California,
being Spanish, speaking Spanish, and the whole Mexican thing. Like,
exactly.
That brings a whole new demographic and like set of people. So
him and Dillashaw are gonna fight, right?
Yeah, they're gonna fight for the 135
Dillashaw's
title. I believe, right? He's
which will be
up.
super dope because I love Dillashaw. He's my favorite fighter in that division, and it made me so
he's
happy.
He's top of the pound for pound list too. He's up there. I love the way
he's
he
one of
fights
the greatest
and
fighters
his
the
own
UFC
style.
has ever seen either.
Yeah.
And it made me so happy to see him knock Cody Garbrandt's ass out again, because I could not stand Cody Garbrandt by the beginning of that second fight.
Dude,
I liked him because he had crazy hands. He was knocking people out. He had character.
And his way he
ring.
beat Cruz was pretty amazing. So like just to see that, like you gave him
Dominic
some more
Cruz
respect and stuff like that.
Beat Dillashaw. You know what I mean? Dillashaw has still not been able to. I mean, like he won the fight. You know what I mean? Like he didn't like beat him
on the record.
Up.
He's on the fight.
On the record, exactly. And that's something that Dillashaw didn't have that Garbrandt did.
Got you.
But the way that Garbrandt handled the loss of the first fight, he wasn't very honorable about it, and that's what kind of made me dislike him. And by the beginning of when they first got in that cage the second time, I was about ready to just see him get beat up.
Yeah, me too.
It was so funny.
Same way.
Dillashaw's energy throughout that whole fight. He walked into that ring smiling and like laughing.
Confident,
he was there having a fun time.
He knew what he was about to do.
Exactly, and it just that is like that's the kind of stuff that gets me hyped about like the UFC and just MMA in general, because it's something I know. Like I tried basketball when I was younger and I really didn't like it. But when I started boxing, I loved it. So I was like, it's something that I can see the art in, and I love that it's popular.
You have some more appreciation for it.
Yeah, dude.
Other things.
100%.
Damn, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, man. I think we're gonna just kind of cut it here, man. We had a nice conversation. Talked about some hip hop, some mixed martial arts, music, freaking routines, a whole bunch of shit. So that was a lot of fun, and we're definitely gonna do it soon.
Yeah.
Make some music soon. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Be on the lookout.